Well, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. We're pleased to do Commission Corner, and we thought Commissioner Russell and I thought we would kind of tag team. Our compadre is at home recovering, so he's doing well and should maybe he should be able to throw like a real fast pitch.
That's right.
Um, anyway, this is a very, as everyone knows, a very busy time at the county. Of course, we have all of the construction and all that stuff, but then we have all of our annual things like budget. Jeff did a great financial huddle. Was that last week or the week before? This week
It
before.
was last week.
I just
I don't
remember
know.
the info. I don't remember exactly. There's been so much going on. So we're glad you came and thought we would kind of jump into what did you have next? I wanted to give you a little bit. For me, it's been a very busy year as far as outside associations. Commissioner Russell and I both serve on the board for the Missouri Association of Counties. And one of my duties for that board is to represent all Missouri counties on the board for the National Association of Counties. And I've done that going on 5 years. We just had our annual meeting in Hillsborough County, Florida, which is Tampa. We always try to say the county name. Didn't have as much fun at this one as it did last year in Travis County, where we drove and we drove a prison transport van to save money and get more people down there. But the Hillsborough County event this year was very good. There's a lot going on. NACO provides a lot of services for counties, not the least of which is our High Performance Leadership Academy, which a number of folks in this room even have taken advantage of. But they do a lot of policy advocacy on the federal level for counties. And a lot of rural counties are involved in that process, and a lot of urban counties. We kind of fit in the middle. So I get involved in both of those groups. We elected our new leadership and prepared for this upcoming year. We'll have the legislative conference in February. And then next July, the conference will be in Philadelphia as we begin part of the process of kicking off the 250th anniversary of the founding of the country. Of course, as you can imagine, counties are much older than the country, especially on the East Coast. And so that's kind of a summation of this year's activity. I also just this summer agreed to join the County Commissioners Association Executive Board. So I've been going to a lot of these things, and John and Rusty have covered in a lot of ways to make sure that things get done here. So you want to talk a little bit about budget?
Yeah, and I'll just say, Bob representing the county at these meetings is a really big deal. It was a competitive race when Bob ran for that NACO position, what, 4 years ago?
I think it was
Around 4 years ago.
Going in, yeah,
and he was elected by his peers around the county to do that, or excuse me, around the state to do that. So it really is a big deal for him to represent the entire state at these meetings, and really looks good for Greene County. So appreciate you doing that, Bob.
Thanks. I will just mention one more thing. Alan Isett had me do something here recently. If y'all are involved in associations, I know the office holders are. If you want me to come and speak about NACO to an association, whether it's meeting here in this area or not, I think the collectors were meeting here. It was last month. But I'll come and speak to anybody, because if we get to 100% county participation, then we get an additional board seat, and that will help Missouri, lift our voice with that federal advocacy. So let me know, and I'd be happy to come talk to your associations.
Well, good morning, everyone. Appreciate the time this morning. We thought we would just spend a few minutes talking about, I think, 6 or 7 different topics, and then I think leave the rest of the time for questions of topics that you all may want us to address. Thought we'd just touch on the budget process really quick. We're not going to go in depth. Jeff and Mike did a great job of doing that a week or two ago. First, to just thank our budget team. We have an amazing budget team. Our budget officer and deputy budget officer do a ton of work every day. Are looked at from around the state as leaders in their field, and several people here in Springfield are always reaching out to them for information and their analysis because they are just amazing. So kudos to you all for what you do every day. As you all know, they presented last week on what the requested budget looks like. As with any budget, there's going to be adjustments to this year. I think one of the questions on the email was variances between the budget and how we're performing. They had a great slide on that last week. I think some of the big differences were sales tax, ARPA, which I think on the ARPA, we're going to be able to make some designations on that to take care of that before year's end. Federal board, that was another big variance. However, some of that was offset by some of the operational costs by not having as many federal inmates as anticipated. One of the big takeaways for me, and I think probably you all as well, was the amount to find was about $14.5 million. That's very similar to what it was last year. I think it was 14.2 or so last year. So a few $100,000 difference compared to where we were this time last year and in the amount that we need to find. We started the budget process with the meet and confer with the 31st Circuit. That was August 8th. We do that every year. It's required by statute, but we've enjoyed a really great relationship with the 31st Circuit over the past 5 or 6 years, where they really have tried to trim their budget and keep it to a budget that is efficient for Greene County and Greene County's taxpayers. You all have been working with the budget team over the past several months on getting your recommended budget in. Jeff and Mike will present their recommended budget on, I believe it's November 13th. That will be followed by departmental meetings starting on the 25th. And as you all know, that's a time where we all get together and discuss something that is maybe not in the recommended budget that you would like to tell us more about. And then that's followed December 4th. We start the decision meetings. And I just really like to emphasize we view this as a collaborative process, as I think you all do, to really prioritize what's best for the county and the county employees. That will be followed by the budget signing on January 10th of next year.
And speaking of budget, you want to share a little bit about what we've done with our nonprofit, and then we've got a little event coming up.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, yeah.
Many of you all, regarding the Harold K. Bench Fund that we started about 4 years ago, many of you all have participated in that, either through a direct contribution or through a payroll deduction. We've had many vendors of the county participate in that, and then just some interested community members. So in conjunction with the Harold K. Bench Fund, donations from many of you in this room and other office holders, department heads and employees, as well as NPR has stepped up big on this. We're going to be doing a employee appreciation lunch. It's October 10th for the main campus. Then we're going to do one at the Sheriff's Department since some of them can't leave the campus. But we're just really excited about that. It's going to be something that we've wanted to do for many years, but due to many reasons, we couldn't use and shouldn't use county funds to do that. So we've found a way to do that this year, and just thank everyone for what they're doing.
So you can come eat, win a prize, and get your photo made all at the same time. Or get the photo made while you're eating. I don't care, whatever you want to do.
It's going to be fun.
Some
great prizes too.
And we've got some folks helping. My wife agreed to help, but I told her we had to cancel the petting zoo in the rotunda. I kind of go wild with things, so they've kept me in line. Oh, goodness. Speaking of wild things, let's talk about the senior tax credit. That has been a doozy, and I just want to say on behalf of the commission to all of our office holders and employees, thank you, thank you, thank you, because this thing really was much bigger than I think anyone, including the ones that voted for it in Jeff City, realized. Not just in interest, in the public interest of it, but just how to make it work. And it's been a collaborative effort between the county clerk's office, the collector's office, the assessor's office, the recorder's office, and really everybody else who's just greeted citizens in the hallways and helped them find where to go. Everyone has been involved. I mentioned those 4 offices because they're directly involved with things that are needed. the commission office has taken a ton of phone calls from folks who are just wanting to know questions like, if they qualified. And remember, under the original bill, not everyone did. And of course, with the update this year, they do. And then yesterday at 5 o'clock was the deadline, not by postmark. It had to have been received. So if someone asks you if they can still turn it in, they will be able to do that for next year. But we had to have a cutoff date so that those could be processed and then the credit applied to the bill and the bill processed and get out in the mail to meet the statutory deadline. So if they're upset, you can send them to me, but I'm going to talk to them about how laws have to change in Jeff City before we can change processes here, because we really are just an extension of state government. We have to meet all of the statutory deadlines, not just the ones that are related to one specific thing. So, and I don't know if anybody has a number of the total applications at the end. Do you have a rough idea?
I can tell you that in the database, we just over 10,000 each year.
Okay.
The unknown number is what we've collected in the last week to 10 days.
Okay.
So we're estimating somewhere in that maybe 12 to 13,000 range, but that could be a little low.
Mm-hmm. It's a big number, but it's not really as big as it could be, the number of people that qualify. So, and of course, they have to come in each year to verify that everything is correct and still the same. So that is, that's been a lot of work for everyone. And so thank you again to all the offices that I mentioned, and really all the county employees and office holders who have either gotten the word out, answered questions when you're around the county, or when folks come in the building.
Just curious, how many people in here have been involved in this in some form or fashion, whether it's been directly or just encountering someone in the hallway trying to get them where they're going?
Just about everybody.
Just about everyone.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thought I would just touch really quickly on OTO, Ozarks Transportation Organization. This is a board that I've served on for a few years. Bob was chair back about 6 years ago for a couple years, and then asked if I wanted to serve in this capacity. So the county has two voting voices on that board. And OTO is a federally required metropolitan planning organization. So essentially what that is it is a group, a regional group that gets together to plan and confer on what the transportation projects in the region will look like. There are three major MPOs in the state, the three major cities, so St. Louis, Kansas City, and Springfield, and then there's some smaller ones. But those three major ones get together to really prioritize transportation projects. Our MPO, so OTO, is made up of 7 cities and 2 counties. So we've got Greene and Christian, Battlefield, Nixa, Ozark, Republic, Stratford, and Willard. And the chair rotates on that. So Greene County will be the chair on a rotating basis. And then it will be Springfield, and then it will be either Christian County or one of the municipalities out of Christian County. But we really work well together as a region and collaborate so that you don't have one dominant city or county getting all of the money. And so there's really a couple of different things that it does. First of all, it allocates some federal funds. So this year there's about $14.5 million of federal funds that are allocated. And that's how obviously the Kansas Expressway was part of that allocation at one point in time. And then also prioritizing MoDOT projects. So we work very closely with MoDOT on what projects this region wants programmed into their STIP. Right now we're programming projects for 2030. So you can see it's looking way into the future on this. And we're able to, with our highway department, we have such a robust highway department that we're able to partner with MoDOT and other municipalities on projects to help sometimes move them forward. We saw that with the project that we're currently working on, the I-44 project, or sometimes maybe a different design that the community is wanting. That was a big deal for the 125/60 interchange when they proposed 3 or 4 different options. MoDOT was going with what the community referred to as the octopus. It was just all kinds of uh, turns and everything on the exits, and the community didn't want that. Rogersville, Greene County residents didn't want that, so we approached MoDOT. We were able to bring $1 million of county funding to that. Rogersville was able to match that, and we're able to go with a more traditional exit and overpass there. OTO is funded roughly $800,000 from the federal government, but then there's a local match to that. So we have a per capita amount that we pay, as do all the other municipalities in the other county to help fund the operations of that. There's probably 7 or so employees. Also work on legislative priorities. This last year, our main and really our single legislative priority was this I-44 funding, which the region was successful on this year. One other thing I might mention, it's not related to OTO, but this Farm Road 193 bridge, I get a lot of calls on that on the east side of the county. That is a bridge that was not in the best of shape. County Highway did a great job of patching it up with the intent of replacing it. Then we got a record rainfall and it has completely washed the bridge out. So Highway disassembled that structure a few weeks back. That will be replaced, but it will probably be early next year, probably spring of 2025 before that's back up and running. So if you all get any calls or inquiries on that, which I do on about a weekly basis, that will be up and running again early next year. So that's OTO.
And I might just mention, John talked about the $1 million. Those dollars came out of the designated highway fund. So they didn't come out of GR. We don't have the money to spend on that out of GR. But fortunately, we have a pretty robust highway fund. And even that was a stretch, but it helped get that project out there in a better place. It gave us a little bit of influence in the outcome, and it also moved it along faster.
Yeah, so it did, and there were multiple reasons for that. It wasn't just the design; it was the fire department was very concerned about fire response times and life safety. That was also going to potentially
going in circles out there.
Absolutely. That was also going to increase potentially insurance premiums per the fire chief because it was going to increase the ISO ratings. We were also concerned, as was the community, that it was going to create another Jamestown where you pass the development before you realize that the exit's back there. And so there are many factors that went into that decision.
I'll talk a little bit about, well, let me back up. Day after tomorrow is the 2024 State of the County, so listen and tune in at your own risk. But last year, I kind of threw out the script and started with something completely different and unexpected, and that was really a discussion about mental health in the community. We see a lot of the effects of the lack of mental health care or awareness of mental health needs. And a lot of that for me was driven by a topic and discussion in Travis County, Texas at the last NACO meeting. And so I brought that and shared that at the State of the County last fall, really in hopes of spurring a community-wide discussion, even beyond our county lines, about mental health in the region and the need to really up our game and deliver better services. Because back in the 50s and 60s primarily, we overreacted, according to the psychiatrist that spoke, and we shut down a lot of facilities and we dumped people out of them. Some needed to be released, but not everyone, is his premise. And so they basically wound up, those that really needed care and weren't getting it once they were released, they wound up in 3 primary places: nursing homes, jails, and the streets. And so we see a lot of that, the residual effect of that. And my hope and goal was to raise awareness and also spark that discussion about how are we going to deliver better services and care so that we can get people well and also at the same time address other challenges like workforce shortage and other things. People can't work if they're not mentally fit or well. And so they can't really function, they can't have a good life, all of that. What came out of that, and I'll report a little bit on this Thursday. John Jasinski over at Missouri State, who he incidentally was one of the finalists when they had their presidential search, but he runs the school over there on behavioral science and as the provost rather. And we connected with him. He was in the audience. We talked with him. The three of us went over there and we said, here is our vision for the next year plus. We don't have the resources or the time or the ability to focus in on the details. Could you all begin convening a collaborative that really starts to dig into the nitty gritty of these challenges and concerns? And they have done really a tremendous job. John's been to more of those collaborative meetings than I have just because of my schedule and some of the travel. But the last one I went to, I was thoroughly impressed. The director of mental health was there, not to speak. They were around the round tables. Um, John Jasinski brought everybody in to the collaborative, and then Katie Towns with the Springfield Greene County Health Department was kind of the facilitator. There was some really good discussion, and I think we're going to have some good things come out of that. I think um, we're kind of still in the assessing the needs um, phase with all the providers, and then looking at how can we become really a regional partner. How can we deliver care that makes this area a magnet for people who we're already a major healthcare provider in our metropolitan statistical area, which is over 1 million people. But beyond that, because as I shared last year, when I was looking for care for a family member, I was looking as far as Chicago and Phoenix. And the one in Chicago, after I read the reviews, I wouldn't put my dog in that facility. So we have got to do better. And that's really what this discussion is about. I'll add just one thing to that, and I'll share this on Thursday. For me personally, mental health is always a quest for all of us, just continuous quality improvement in our lives. So it's not necessarily just what we typically think of with mental health, but are you at peace? Are you functioning, fully functioning at your best and your peak performance? All this. Well, uh, just in my professional life and development, one of the things that I've always tried to do is get along well with people, but also am I being courageous in the things that I'm taking on? Am I being a good leader? Am I being a good friend? Am I being a good father, a husband? All these things. And this year at the NACO conference in Hillsborough County, Florida, down in Tampa, we had a speaker that they bring in some excellent folks to speak. But this fellow, I'm going to share a little bit out of his book about fearless leadership. And his book is called Empower. That's the title of it, Conquering the Disease of Fear. And hearing his story, I was so motivated. Spent a little bit of time afterward talking with him. He was born in the United States, but his family was the royal family in Afghanistan that walked out of the country. His mother carried his sister out of the country on her shoulders during the 1979 invasion by the Soviets. And they moved and grew up in California. And he has helped his father through some serious mental health challenges because of all the PTSD of just everything that happened. His grandfather, by the way, was the first Air Force general in Afghanistan, put together Bagram Air Force Base. And we talked a little bit about what that looks like. What is fearless leadership and facing challenges head on and being, including everyone, but then once you've made a decision, not shying away from executing and moving forward. But he's gone on to train athletes, professionals. He does a lot of physical training, but also just getting into this part of the person and this part of the person, because that's really where we face a lot of our battles, whether it's work or home or whatever. So that's maybe a little bit more on the mental health side, but just having conversation, some of the things that we do in here about what quality work looks like or what work-life balance works like, checking to make sure that we're all doing okay, you know, uh, just taking good care of each other. And we can't really do that unless we know how to take good care of ourselves. So that's a little bit more maybe than an update, but I will share just a portion of that on Thursday because there are some challenges that we face as a county. And I'll mention one. Just John was just talking about transportation. You know, I'll speak up for Rusty because he's not here. He had a vision for a need down the road of 20, 30 years for this county when it comes to transportation. And we had folks eat our lunch in Willard because they thought mistakenly we were going to take their farms and do all this stuff, which was not the case. But we went out there, we faced the issue head on, we answered all the questions and then maybe a few extra. But and we listened, which is a big part of leadership, but we listened to the concerns, and it was very heated. And we decided a couple of weeks later, unanimously, to send a letter to OTO as part of one of our briefings, and we asked OTO to take that off of the unfunded needs list. There was a lot of conspiracy thinking that it had somehow gotten somewhere and we weren't transparent. It was all public. People just were not engaged. But we said, you know what? We need to back up. We need to back up and make sure folks know that we heard them, but that does not mean that we are going to shy away from addressing the needs of the county. It just means we're going to take a step back. We're going to look at it differently. We're going to make sure everybody's involved. Maybe it's 10 years before it comes up again. I don't know. But we've got to be fearless and courageous in doing what we need to do, whether that means kind of stepping back and looking at things differently or moving forward when we need to. So it really is a pleasure to serve and to do those things. Some of the fun things, it's all fun, I guess, but the learning about our history, and I think that's the final thing we had. John, why don't you wrap up and
Yeah,
I think we're getting
I guess
close
we
on
are
time,
close.
sorry.
On the Mental Health Collaborative, one of the things that really strikes me is it's a group that really wants to get something done. So many times these collaboratives come together and it's just meeting after meeting, and that's not what this is. There's a true passion to make an impact in the community. Just really quick, we've got a lot of very active boards in the county. And if you all know of anyone who wants to serve on a county board, or if you do, reach out to us. We've kind of approached county board appointments a little bit differently. We're seeking those interests in the community that may have an interest or an expertise in that field. But historic sites is one that has been extremely active over the past couple of years. Just this year, they have designated 2 historic sites. One was Rose Hill Baptist Church. I believe that was founded in 1886. We had a great ceremony out there back, I think it was May timeframe, a celebration with the church for that milestone. And then the Walnut Grove Historic District. This is a district of probably about 10 different, maybe even 13 properties throughout Walnut Grove. And to my knowledge, it's the only district that exists. Are you familiar with another one? I looked through the list yesterday. I didn't see another.
No, outside of the ones in Springfield, I think it's the only one.
Yeah.
As far as the district goes.
So you might take a look at that sometime. It's really a great way to learn about the history, and it's a board that just has a passion for Greene County and what Greene County history looks like. So
A lot of history out there. Jesse James went through there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got a lot of history.
It is.
So I just think that's kind of fun. So
no, I do too. I know we're out of time, but should we mention that last point about juvenile?
Oh, sure. No, I'll let you go ahead.
Okay. So as you all know, and I know we're out of time, so we'll wrap up really quick, but we've been working on a campus master plan. Juvenile moved over to APOD at the jail. That was, in all our minds and their minds, a good move. That has not worked the way that everyone thought it would. So we have found another solution. We're going to renovate the old detention, and they're going to be moving back there probably in the next 1 to 2 years. Try to escalate that time frame, but
We'll tear down the admin building. That was kind of their suggestion. I think it's a good one.
so just want everyone to be updated on that. That happened just here in the past few weeks.
Since we are past time, if anyone has a burning question, if you would just simply email us, we'll be happy to answer it. But I don't want to keep anyone past our.
And we can stay after too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you all very much. Pleasure to be with you. Thank you for what you did.
Good morning.